Alexa, let's look ahead to the draft. When you look at this team overall, what are the biggest holes on the roster that this team still needs to address?
How much time do you have? No.
Yeah, I have all the time in the world. Great answer.
There are a lot of needs. There are a
Yep.
lot of needs. I think everybody is really high on tight end, which is not
Hmm.
super surprising. I think that, the tight ends are either older and starting to, break down, or guys who have been getting hurt. Like Jelani Woods, this is a Jelani Woods stan account right here. Like, I love that guy.
I love that.
Love him. He's so great. Wahoo wah, Virginia guy. Love it. The thing about Jelani, though, is that Jelani is so injury prone, though he's a great goal line package, because he's
Hmm.
so long and he's big. So, like, he's great in in a goal line red zone situation.
Right.
That being said, he's hurt all the time. You have guys who are different. But this, for as shallow as this draft class is in terms of just talent generally, the tight
Hmm.
end talent is there. So I think that with that first round pick, that's probably what they'll target. I wouldn't be surprised if they took another offensive lineman as well with some of these moves.
Yeah.
But I think they could probably do that in like rounds 2 through 4, a la last year, just because of the general, just the situation as it
Yeah.
stands with this draft, because it is such a tricky draft. This is
It
such a
is.
draft. Anybody who's drafting past like 5, it's just like,
Free for all.
yeah, like I feel like everyone's best player on the board and best player available is not going to be the same.
That makes it quite interesting, I think. Because so
Yeah.
many times it feels like we can almost fill out like 1 to 17, and this year does feel really different that way. That's a
Yeah.
good point.
It is a weird draft class. And
Hmm.
I'm interested kind of to see where everybody goes generally.
Yeah.
Everybody basically passed like the Giants. So,
Yeah.
because everybody else, your first 4 or 5 picks are locked in, and then the rest of it
Mhm.
is kind of, it could be anything. It could be anybody. So, I don't know.
So the Colts, they're so interesting to me this year. This feels like a year that Shane Steichen and Chris Ballard really need to find a bit of success. And I think you see a bit of that urgency with these big splash signings because, like we talked about, this isn't that typical for them. Where do you see the Colts this season within the AFC South and then maybe the AFC overall?
Yeah, I think that the AFC being what it is, we're going to go back just to the South, because the AFC as it stands right now, with all of the free agent signings all across the board,
Yeah, it's
have,
wild.
has just been, what are we doing here?
Yeah.
Um, but within the AFC South, I think it's interesting because you have a brand new look Titans team. Like they've completely overhauled, and I don't necessarily think they'll be great. I don't have strong feelings about them or the Jaguars. The Texans are still interesting to me, though.
Yes.
Texans are very interesting because they could either have a make or like truly a make or break season similarly,
Yes.
because they had last season, not this past season, season before, had such a strong season to then it just kind of fall apart, sort of
Bit
like.
of a sophomore slump, I think
Yeah,
we saw.
they really did, and it's not just CJ Stroud, it's just kind of it's D'Amico, it's the
Exactly.
personnel decisions. It was, so I'm eager to see how if they're able to bounce back from that, or they kind of exist in that slump, because if the Colts, I mean, this is a division that could be wide open, and if the Colts
Hmm.
figure it out and utilize these pieces that they have, they could win the division. They could have won the division this past year, but they didn't, because, inopportune games and blowing things they should have won. But, I think that in terms of this year, I mean, Chris Ballard's seat is hot. It's scorching.
Yes.
That's why Lou Anarumo is, you have the 1-year deal, because who knows what's going to happen. You don't know if this is going to be everyone gets fired and overhauled. I don't think anything that goes on with this team necessarily is on Shane Steichen at this
Hmm.
point. I do think he's a really good coach. I do think that more of it is on personnel decisions and the inability to make those decisions last season, and just kind of beyond, not even just last season, but,
Hmm.
just the, like, this is showing it's do or die. This is Chris Ballard saying, hey, like, I'm going to throw my Hail Mary. I have to.
Hmm.
If we're not good, I'm done. And it's been such a a wild thing to watch, just to have the moves that should have been made last season being made on day one when we all knew a quarterback situation was happening. We knew a quarterback was coming.
Yes.
But like we had to wait until day two for the quarterback information, which not a bad thing. Not a bad thing at all. You know, we all expected it would be first, but to get two major veteran secondary signings was just like, oh, okay, they mean business.
Mhm.
So we have to wait and see. I think that camp is going to be very interesting. I
I think
think
so too.
I think that this is going to be probably the highest stakes season because I started covering this team right before Frank Reich got fired. And
Okay. Oh, what an interesting time to come in.
yeah, so I came in and I started in 2021. And so I was there for the hiring of Jeff Saturday and the
Mhm.
of him being pulled off the ESPN set and all of that. And you know, there have been so many issues that could have been solved had moves been made in the off season or different
Mm.
decisions been made just with personnel generally. Maybe Chris Ballard's seat isn't so hot. Maybe, you know, obviously you can maybe and what if until you're blue in the face, but I think this is really showing that they're serious about A, winning and getting back to the glory days, but B, also I think they really need to see if Anthony Richardson is their guy. Because at the end of the day, you know, you can't wait forever for somebody to come into their own. You can't. This is a win now league. You can't just wait.
Yep. This season is just so interesting for the Colts because, yeah, like everything you said, it does feel like they're operating a bit like they are in the hot seat, but I find it kind of refreshing because it makes them really, really interesting. The Colts are definitely a team that I have my eye on heading into the year because it feels like it could go so many different ways with this team and with this coaching staff.
Absolutely. And I think that seeing what Lou Anarumo can do is going to be huge.
Mhm.
I think that I wonder what his conversations like with Chris Ballard were about getting help in the secondary as well. I think that that's going to be huge. I think that this is
Yeah.
really going to be a huge a huge thing for them to have somebody who is more adaptable, to have a more veteran group learning
Mhm.
a defense together and having, you know, in a way that can then help some of the younger guys. So I'm definitely super I'm definitely super interested in what's to
Yep.
come. And camp will be probably the most interesting camp I've covered since being here, that's for sure.
Well, I do love that for you. Alexa Ross, thank you so much. You said it all. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Katie.